Welcome to Uncover the Human, where every conversation revolves around enhancing all the connections in our lives.
Whether that's with our families, co-workers, or even ourselves.
When we can be our authentic selves, magic happens.
This is Cristina Amigoni.
And this is Alex Cullimore.
Let's dive in.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Uncover the Human. It's a host episode, and we are here to talk about, well, here's one of my favorite quotes, and this is how we're going to introduce this.
We love
a well-executed plan coming together.
Which actually aligns very well with the quote you're about to say.
So this is from Stafford Beer, and he was a systems engineer, and his quote is, "The purpose of a system is what it does." And so the point of this is to say that the outcomes you're seeing are a result of the system that you have. You can have whatever intention you want with a system, but the actual point and the actual purpose of a system is what it does. What does it deliver? Why is this important to talk about?
Well, just to connect it back to how we started a podcast is in a system where we don't write down how we're going to start a podcast. Well, then we start a podcast however it starts, and then it does. The system does what it's supposed to do, which is we randomly throw quotes in or randomly start with chatter.
Yeah. And we wanted to be able to record and share our conversations, and this is what our conversations are like.
Yes. All the time, microphone or not.
Yeah, we just sometimes put a microphone in front of them. But we thought about this particularly because this is, in leadership, there's a lot of times where you can identify problems, and there's things like, you send out engagement surveys and you'll be like, why is engagement low? And the real question is, what is the system doing to drive engagement down? Because engagement is low as a result. It's not something that's happening independently of the system. It's something that's happening because of the system. And that means that however the system is currently working, the point of a system is what it does. The system is creating lower engagement. So if you want to change it, if you think about systemically, what will change that? So the whole point of this is to help reframe the questions, which tends to end up, it's easy enough to come and lay out a bunch of why questions or lay out a bunch of questions that assume some type of blame. That like, why aren't people doing this? Why aren't these two departments working better? Why isn't this more efficient? Why don't we have, better relationships? Why aren't people engaged? And those are understandable starting points, but it's easier to reframe these things so that you can actually approach the real problem, and so that you don't have everybody who's trying to answer that question just trying to avoid the blame, skip around and make sure they're not the one who's pinned with, oh, I'm the reason that engagement is low.
Yes. Yeah. And along those lines, one of the things that we say, and we believe it is, every problem is a human problem, but not in the sense that humans are the problem. So every problem is a human problem, as in the humans are not in a system where they can thrive, but it's not that the humans are always the problem.
Yes.
In a lot of cases is you've got great people. For the most part, people hire great people and know that they're great people, and the system is broken. And so the results are the same. And you may be changing the people, you may be promoting the people, you may be moving them around like music chairs. But the results are the same, and it's because it wasn't the people that needed to be moved around. It wasn't because they had the wrong title. It wasn't because of all these other things that you thought were people-related problems. It's a system problem that's not allowing the people to thrive, collaborate, work together, and actually be great.
Yeah. These are the things we see over and over again. And it's so tempting to think, this is kind of similar to what we were talking about on the previous episode about what's easy to measure. It's easy to think like, oh, I have to change the process, or, oh, we just needed a new tool. This one looks new and shiny, and their salesperson was real nice. This is a new shiny tool, and it will solve all my problems. But implementing that tool is going to be a human problem. The fact that there was an issue in the first place is already a human problem. Like, why was the tool not working? And understanding what was failing about it. What are you going to get out of this? And how are you going to communicate that to the people? All of these are human problems. All of these are things that you will have to deal with the humans. And fixing tools all the time may not be the underlying cause. And so the reason we bring this up is that we often skip over the underlying cause because we're going for, oh God, I'm going to have to use buzzwords here. We're going for the low-hanging fruit.
Where's our bingo chart? Also, we should have like a swear jar but it's a corporate corporate word jar, and then I don't know, go out and party when it's full.
Yeah, let's circle back on that.
After we pivot.
We'll double click on that. Let's put that in the parking lot for now.
I think I saw a clip. It's not an original idea. I'm pretty sure I saw a clip of a company that tried to do that. And it's like, okay, we use way too many buzzwords. And so let's, here's the jar of corporate buzzwords. And it was taking the opposite. The opposite effect. Now everybody talked in buzzwords all day long so that they could fill the jar so that they could go out and get beers.
Which actually proves our original thesis. The point of the system is what it does.
Yes, exactly.
That brought awareness to buzzwords, and it created a system in which everybody could go get beers. And
yes.
It worked.
It worked.
Now, the intention of the system was to reduce buzzwords. And this is why there's a disconnect and why it's important to remember that whatever the outcome is, that's what the system is enabling.
Exactly.
See, it all comes together. We really circled back on that one.
Oh, we can find all sorts of different ways to explain that, since we're talking about dishes and washing dishes in the last episode, to stay with the dishes theme. I don't know why I have this dishes obsession.
You've got it. You had a dish obsession today.
I actually don't have dishes to wash in my. I think I have a dishwasher to run, but I don't have dishes to wash in my kitchen.
Maybe that's why it's on your mind. There's
Maybe.
just nothing for that dish area of the brain to focus on right now.
Yes. And so I tried to change the system in my house was not working. Meaning every day or every other day, the kids would have to ask me, like, are the dishwashers are the dishes in the dishwashers clean or dirty, so that they could add, whatever they just used. And I got kind of sick of being the police on dirty or clean in the dishwasher. I'm like, just look at them. First of all, if it's empty, they're not clean because there's nothing in there. But, I try to. So then I changed the system. I was like, we're going to have to change the system. So I got one of those nice little, slide things, magnets, exactly, where I can push, clean and dirty. And so that I could, again, change the system so that we could get different results. Now I got half different results because the other half of the time I forget to change the magnet. So again, the system is doing what it does. The human is the problem in this case.
So then I had to hang a different magnet on my fridge that says, did you change the magnet? And now I have to...
Now, here's an innovation for anybody out there looking to innovate dishwashers. Put something on the outside that's not some tiny little red dot on the floor that nobody looks at, that actually switches clean. Yeah. So it's on the outside, not on the inside. It's too late with it in the inside.
Yeah. Mine has a tiny red dot that's on the top side. It's only visible when it's open. And it is also ridiculously on a time delay. So you click it and it doesn't change. Like if it was already clean and now it's empty, you're like, is it? And then like 2 seconds later, it'll flick on and off and on and off. Like, okay, well, how long have we had working circuitry? Like, this doesn't seem like this should be an issue.
We've circled the moon and come back. But
From
the
what I
clean,
understand,
dirty part of the dishwasher
is
in the dishwasher. Apparently, it's still an issue.
That was the old joke that NASA invested thousands and thousands of dollars into creating a ballpoint pen that could write in space, and Russians used a pencil.
There you go. This system does what it's supposed to do.
So what are some ways that you've seen where people tend to focus on the wrong portion of it? They might be missing it, and there might be a better way to approach it.
Oh, was that a question?
Yes.
What's the question
what
again?
you? Yeah, no, this is the other people in the room. The ghosts in the room.
And the Russians in space. So my head was still in space with a pencil, and I'm like, that is actually a really good point.
No, I was talking to the third person in this room.
Where are the cats? My cat is outside, so you weren't talking to my cat.
I meant the virtual room.
All right, what was the question again?
What are some common ways you've seen people maybe misdirect this or blame something incorrectly when it's really a system problem?
All right, so one of the most frequent times is organizational changes. And we're going to go with organizational changes, not tool changes, because that's too easy, as I said. A low-hanging fruit. But in organizational changes, and that's not to say that some changes are not needed. As long as they are an evolutionary change, they are needed. But the approach usually misses the point. because the approach usually tries to fix something that's on the surface without actually exposing the root cause. Or it tries to, which is definitely the worst times of doing organizational changes, it's trying to meet some sort of expectation to boost whatever leader or group of leaders were hired to come in and fix things and change things and as fast as possible. So, so there's usually like, oh yes, let's eliminate people, let's move these departments, let's reorganize, let's do all these things. But the time to actually understand what was needed wasn't taken.
Yes.
And then this happens again after, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, 18 months, a year, whatever it is, because again, you're not fixing the system. The system itself is what needs to be looked at, not the people in the system, not doing what you think they should be doing according to what the system is like in your head, but it's not in reality. Anything from lack of collaborations, projects taking longer, lack of innovations, all those things that matter in a company. Yes, it's a human problem, but you have to understand why the humans are not able to do what you expect them. The problems are not the humans.
Yes.
And understanding that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of investment in understanding where people are, what's the actual experience, where the history comes from, why are they behaving, why are the actions in a certain way, what are their assumptions, what are their expectations, are those the right expectations? And that's when then you can look at processes, you can look at org charts, you can look at all these other things and decide what needs to be changed, and also do it with the people, because they will tell you what the problems are and they will come up with the solutions if you let them co-create with you.
Yes. And if they aren't, that's a different safety issue.
Yes, that's also the system. The system is not safe and it's working exactly as it's supposed to.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to bring up that example that we heard many, many times from different companies. It's role clarity. People be like, well, I'm just not sure what's my responsibility and what's somebody else's responsibility. I was confused when I started to hear this for the first time, because I have been in many jobs where technically I guess I had a job description, but I have no idea what it was, and it certainly did not have any bearing on really what I did day to day, because it just you just kind of get done what has to get done, or this is vaguely your responsibility, and you kind of figure out where the edges are and what you need to plug into. So if somebody's asking what role clarity is, the problem probably isn't role clarity. The problem is there's dropped process gaps. There's something there where people don't feel like they can take something, or they're being chastised for taking too much or too little responsibility, and now they want this defined so that they can basically but that means that the system is out there to establish blame more than it is to find solutions. So what are you going to do to help change a system where people aren't begging for role clarity? They're just figuring out what needs to be done, and it's not that they actually aren't clear on it. It's that whatever the system has encouraged is now just people fighting with one another, or now there's just territoriality about who owns what or who should own what, or there's just two departments that don't want to have a responsibility, so nobody's doing it. And whatever it is, that's where you dig in. It's not that they need well-defined job descriptions, because nobody wakes up every day, at least as far as I'm aware, nobody gets up every day, reads their job description and is like, right, that's what I'm doing today.
Hopefully not. But it's true. I mean, and I agree. Like, if I actually did what was supposed to be on my job description as a job in pretty much 30 some years of careers, I would have maybe done 1% of work every single day, because I guarantee you 99 was not on the job description. And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But like you said, like when you start hearing we need more role clarity, that's a red flag. That's a system issue. And the system, in the system, it's like, this means there's no psychological safety. That means people are actually more worried about stepping on other people's toes than actually doing what needs to be done, or talking to each other. That means that there's a blame game going around. So those are system issues. And so what in the system are the incentives for those to be fertile ground for growth of people not stepping on, avoiding stepping on each other's toes, really covering their asses, really wanting to only do things if it's on a written piece of paper. That is a huge problem. That somebody's only going to do something if it's written on a piece of paper. Like that's a lack of accountability. That's a lack of collaboration. That's a lack of responsibility. So what's the system doing to create that?
Yes. And that gives you, once you start to understand what that is, then you have a foothold in trying to fix that. Now you're like, oh, the system's not safe enough for people to talk. So what are our leadership practices that might be shutting people down? What are leadership practices we can adopt that might open things up? Now you've got something that can actually address the problem instead of spending many, many cycles refining and perfecting job descriptions that nobody's going to read.
Or if they read, they still don't know what they're supposed to be doing.
This is interesting. This ties to a different blog that we'd written about white strikes, the Bianco Scorpiero.
Yes.
So this is the idea
Sciopero.
that yes, there we are.
Sciopero Bianco.
Sciopero Bianco. Yeah, okay. So I don't speak Italian.
No, we're gonna have to work on your pronunciation.
Yeah, seriously. Every time a C comes up, I'm like, I'm gonna skip that word. This is the idea that you can actually. It's a type of strike where there would be laws and labor laws where they like, well, you guys don't have the right to strike, which is an odd thing to do because like a strike is generally like, why is this done by rules or not rules? It's a form of protest, but also this is a form where okay, we're not going to do an active strike. We're going to do a work to rule or white strike, which is we're going to do exactly what the rule book says, and this inevitably slows things down because the rules aren't comprehensive. What actually gets things done is people naturally covering the gap and making sure they're helping one another out or understanding the process enough and knowing that this all has to be done. The second you start to follow just the rules, everything slows down. And so that if the point of what a system is to open people enough so that they cover all those gaps, not to define everything so that everybody executes like an automaton.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I left the job before we started Siamo and how in my transition, I wrote down every single thing I was doing and how to do it and my suggestions on who should take it over.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee, and part of when I was presenting that and explaining all of that to our CEO and the executive team, I could tell that like they turned white or green or like the blood just like sucked out of them because what was very evident was that 99% of what was on that list was not in my job description or in my role, or they had any idea that I was doing it. And so why did I do all this stuff all the time? Because I looked around, and when something that needed to be happening was not happening and nobody was picking it up, I picked it up. And then that list kept growing and growing and growing and growing. So there were things in there that were marketing related, sales related, tax related, implementation related, payroll related, I-9 and E-Verify related, so HR related, applicant tracking system related. I mean, I did stuff that was in every single department in some way. Security related, learning and development related, IT related. It was because it needed to be done.
Uh-huh.
And so if I stuck to my job description, which I don't even know if I even had one, but if I had it, all of these things would not have gotten done. They would have slowed things down. But somebody needed to do them. It was a problem. That's how I found out that they needed to do them. Like it was a problem because either the person that used to do them got laid off, left, or it was a new process that needed to, or it was a change process, or it was something happened. And rather than wait and figure out whose toes am I stepping on, and who's supposed to be doing this? Like, yes, I'll let somebody else do it as soon as we establish who's supposed to be doing it. In the meantime, I'll take it.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't the goal for us to have customers that actually can use our platform? Because if that's the goal, that's how we're going to get to the goal. If I sit here and worry about what's mine and what's not mine, because I may get punished both ways, probably am going to get punished both ways, then we're not getting to the goal.
Yes, but we're going to waste a lot of time debating it.
Yes, yes.
By the way, when executives have that moment where they realize that it's known as Executivo Bianco, that's where they go pale.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of whiteness.
Executive
happening.
white. It's actually, you can actually paint your walls this color, but it's not great. It makes you feel uneasy. And it makes the whole situation, the vibes go off. But don't super recommend it, but you can find it from Sherwin-Williams.
Yes. That's when you realize you burnt out a high performer, but you didn't know how high of a performer they were. And there's a lot of things that are going to be falling through the cracks.
Yes, that's another great example of the point of a system being what it does. you're relying on one person and it becomes a bottleneck, not in that it's slowing things down so much. I guess it's not a bottleneck. It's, what is it? All your eggs are essentially in one basket.
Yes.
It's just that you really are just investing too much in one, that if that basket's gone, then what are you going to do? But if the point of the system is to reduce down to the point where you only have one person, well, that's great. But now your system doesn't have a fallback. Your system isn't going to like sure, it's functioning for now, but your systems don't run forever. There's Matt Pepsel talks about entropy in systems. Everything starts to like pull apart just naturally. There's just natural drift in things. If you're not conscious about that, if you're not conscious about where this is going, you just let the system run as it is. Well, it's like letting, your dentistry not be taken care of for years. Like eventually there's going to be some repairs needed.
Exactly. Yes. Well, I know another example is actually for your example, where the system was designed for you to be the only person that did a certain part of the implementation. And then you went on vacation for 3 weeks and 4 projects had to be on pause. And I remember looking around and be like, go live is in like 45 days. Why are these projects on pause for 3 weeks? We don't have the 3 weeks. And it was like, well, because, Alex is the only person doing this. And without Alex, nobody else can do it. I'm like, well, that was a good designed system, wasn't it?
Yes. For the record, I did try to hand it off, and I did mention that. Yeah. I played by the rules on that one. I tried to give people the other one, and then I was like, well, I'm taking my PTO because I've been doing 17 projects and I need some time off. And I remember seeing like the first day I was like it was a trip to Europe. So the first day I'm in Europe, I saw some Slack come through and I was like, and I'm turning off Slack. This is going to be a trial by fire for everybody on this one. There's no way to explain it more than from a Slack message than there was in person, which I'd already tried to do.
Yes. So it's like maybe in the system design, instead of saving, again, the bottom line, which was our last podcast, by only having one person responsible for something that literally stalls all projects when that person is no longer around for a day, a week, 3 weeks, whatever reason it is, maybe the system should have been designed to have other people know how to do this. And yes, spend all those billions of dollars that you're getting paid from your VC or from your shareholders or from your customers on actually investing in the humans so that somebody can go on PTO without 5 projects stalling for 3 weeks.
Yes. I can hear people screaming like internally in their heads, like, well, that sounds redundant. No, you have to have people. It's not even about like multiple people doing the same job. It's about multiple people understanding what has to be done in general, so that when there's a gap, everybody knows what to cover, when to step up, what they expect from where. They're able to communicate that. And that's where it's helpful to have things like process diagrams. It's not about following the exact process. It's about knowing what other things are going to be impacted. That's the real value of the process, is knowing what gaps are going to need to be filled when something inevitably happens. Somebody has a life event and they can't be around this week, and somebody has whatever. Like, great, all those things are going to happen. You don't get to choose those not to happen, and you definitely shouldn't try and force people to be working on times they shouldn't be working. So between those, how are you going to have a system that allows for that? And that means spending time making sure people understand everything that goes on so they don't become pale executives.
Yes, exactly. I mean, one of the things that we designed the system specifically for this reason, I designed it when in change management for our change management team in our previous job. And then we designed Siamo the same way, is when we work on projects, and especially with clients related projects, we never go alone. We very rarely go alone to meetings, and we never go to any projects alone. And yes, somebody that's looking at the bottom line and efficiency and blah, 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 all those nice, shiny little things that will get you, whatever you want on your tombstone, will look like that's redundant. Why have 3 people in a meeting or 2 people in a meeting if it could be one person? Why have, 3 people in a project when it can be, 1.5 people in that project? And I can't tell you the number of times that saved us from actually stalling in projects and not being able to deliver, because life happens. And if you have somebody else who is fully knowledgeable, has already the relationships with the customers, and knows what's going on and what's supposed to happen in every single meeting, then you can have I woke up with a stomach flu and I was supposed to run this meeting. Alex can run it without me. And there's no disruption for anybody. Or, anything, any other or there's a fire in another client project. Okay, we can split up because we both have the knowledge to take that over. That saves relationships. It saves projects. It saves the bottom line because it saves time that's wasted. It saves having to cancel a meeting. It saves having to lose trust on the customer side because now it's like, oh, well, okay, I guess that's how it is. There's so many ripple effects. And so is it redundant? I don't think it is redundant. I think it actually makes it very efficient.
Well, it's not only it's great for backfill, which is for all the unforeseen things, but it also works for just the fact that we're humans. We only have our memory isn't perfectly accurate. It helps to have another person there who has a different perspective, who then is like, here's something we can do. Here's something we can do. Here's what I heard from that person. If we happen to have other one-on-one meetings, we're now bringing both of those pieces of points of view into the next meetings, into the status updates, into the whatever. This is where it actually ends up being really important just to have multiple perspectives and multiple people who have a record of the same types of meetings, because you're getting different things out of it. Everybody has a different interpretation of what's happening, not in a bad way. It's just that's how we all process things differently. We all have our own lens. So that helps on the day-to-day, and then it absolutely helps when there's the backfill needed and something unexpected happens and you need to and it preserves so much and it saves so much more time and effort later. You can get a lot more efficient with finding solutions or answering questions or making sure you've delegated those. The money savings is so much larger than somebody had a meeting and then they spent you could have two people in a 1 hour meeting, or you can have one person in a 1 hour meeting and then they have a second 1 hour meeting to fill somebody else in on the 1 hour that they just had. So
exactly.
At which point you're playing a game of telephone. It's starting to stretch the that's where you start to find other gaps that will pop out. So yes, that's a great example of the system is there to have that a little bit of what on the surface almost looks like redundancy, but is actually much greater efficiency on the overall project.
Yeah. And even on deliverables, on the work that needs to be done outside of meetings, when you have multiple brains that are keeping up with the knowledge and contributing, then we're reducing. Instead of taking 3 hours to produce something, we're now taking 1 hour because there's two people that can contribute to it. So overall, it's a savings. And overall, you can deliver faster. So it's a saving on the other side. There's savings all over the place if you can get past the surface piece of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It's a lot easier.
Way easier.
So that's other examples are things like employee engagement or in changes. There's often some point where people are like, God, people just need to get used to the fact that there's some change. Yes, but there's a reason they're not able to accept this change. So let's dig into what that is. This is people don't want to resist things. People do have a natural resistance to oh no, this is gonna be disruptive. I don't know. But until you give them a reason to change, and until you understand what the reason is to try and not change, or what they're really feeling in the meantime, how are you going to address that? How are you going to get through that? So the point of a system is not to just ignore and try and bulldoze through a change and be like, just please stop talking about this. We're going to make this change. Figure out why there isn't. This is, of course, very popular in things like return to office. This feels like being bulldozed into change. Or if it's something like just any organizational change, we're going to change departments and have different responsibilities. Maybe you really liked what you did before and now it feels like a loss. Maybe you are totally unsure what you're going to what you're being asked to do, and then you go back to things like now I'm going to demand role clarity. But if there was no psychological safety, if there was no general understanding of what should happen, there can be no coverage. And then you're going to lose out in a totally different way.
Yeah. So many losses in different ways, and it manifests. The system, the cracks in the system manifest. And that's one of the things that's coming out, especially with AI implementations. It's what's actually the stuff that's accelerated and way more obvious now is lack of gap in leadership skills and gap in system and system problems that have been covered up. Because now you don't have the humans doing the covering up.
Yes. Yeah. God, there's no. It's kind of great. It kind of points out the issue, although the most brutal way to find a way to point out that issue.
Yes. Which unfortunately, that's too often the case.
Yes.
It's let's feel some pain so that we can look at what's causing the pain. As opposed to that may be a problem and it has been brought up and we see it, but let's ignore it and expect it to just disappear by itself.
Yes. Well, those people shouldn't be doing that. Okay. Those people should be doing this. Do they know that? Have you talked to, are you going to re-talk to them now? Like maybe they don't know. Maybe it's a totally different interpretation. Like there's 1,000 ways to fix that rather than just be like, it must be the people or, we'll just have to change the entire system. Like, figure out what in the system is creating the results that you're seeing and what outcomes do you want to see and how are you going to change the system to get there?
Yeah. And it's not about making yourself look better.
Would that wishing would make it so?
Yes. That's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, that's our next one will be it's not about you.
It's not about you. And sometimes it really is about you.
Yes, but not in the way you're thinking.
Yes.
Sometimes you
if
are
it's
the
positive,
problem.
it's not about you. If it's negative, it is it about you.
It might be about you.
It might be about you. Yes. If the system brings in the same type of person, then it's not just a system problem, it's the person problem too. It is about them. But the system is usually in play there.
Then it's the person who's even higher up that's the problem. That's making that decision. Now it's a you problem.
Yes. So if you're not getting the results that you want, look at what system is in place.
Yeah. And look for questions that are beyond the basic why. Why don't we have this? It's fine to use that as a thought exercise for yourself. Why is this not happening? What is the impact of not having this? What is the impact of not having that? What is the impact of that? What am I really saying? And what is impacting these things? Getting to root causes, getting to real understandings is where you can change a system instead of just blaming symptoms and being like, God, this runny nose is just let's just cork it. Just cork the nose and it'll be fine. Like, yeah, okay, but there's allergies, right? Now it's bleeding out my eyes and this is not helping. This very provocative image brought to you by allergy season in Colorado.
We're really into the bodily analogies.
I think that's what people tune in for, and I think that anybody would comment on that in our audience ship.
Yes.
Like, can you come up with another gross
I go back
metaphor?
to the dishes, but you guys stick to the bottom. I love that the translation from plugging your nose means blood is coming out of your eyes. I'm like, wow. That's quite the system you've got going in your head.
See, the point of a system is what it does. And it did stop the nose thing, but there are consequences.
It could be tears or it could be blood.
Nope. I don't know why I went for blood. It just seemed much more. It's never happened on allergies. It could have been a nose itch. It could have been full ears, but here we were. And that's where we went.
Maybe take some Claritin.
I apologize to everybody.
On that note,
check out your systems.
Yes, go look at your systems and get some pills for allergy season.
Look at the human problems and get a Claritin.
Yes. Claritin, clarity. There we go. We're looking back to clarity. It is about clarity then.
Yes, looking at systems, organizational Claritin.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.